I stood alone in my kitchen, surrounded by the ruins of Thanksgiving. Crystal wine glasses glimmered faintly under the pendant lights, half-filled and forgotten on the granite counters. Behind me, one of the caterers quietly stacked plates, careful not to meet my eyes while I stared down at my phone, my grip so tight my fingers had turned pale. From the small speaker came my father's voice, each syllable delivered like a deliberate blade. "All you ever do is take, Sloan. You have never once given this family anything of true value." The recording ended. I tapped replay, and his voice cut through the silence again, identical in its precision, identical in its cruelty. My chest rose shallowly, caught between disbelief and something sharper, something jagged. "All you do is take." My palm flattened against the cold countertop to keep myself steady. The caterers drifted around me as though I were a fragile statue. One of them fumbled, a fork clattering against tile, and I jumped at the sound. Just hours earlier, I had been in the entryway, arranging flowers when the bell rang. That familiar knot of dread and hope tightened in my stomach the way it always did on family occasions. I smoothed my camel-colored cashmere sweater, checked my reflection in the hallway mirror, and forced a smile that was both real and rehearsed. I opened the door. "Happy Thanksgiving," I had said as I stepped back to let them in. My mother's gaze immediately traveled across the foyer, sharp and assessing. "New curtains. A bit much for this space, don't you think?" My father barely acknowledged me. Too absorbed in the phone call, he refused to end even as he crossed my threshold. Disappointment pressed against me, but I swallowed it down. "The caterers are setting up in the dining room," I offered. "Would you like something to drink?" Before I received an answer, Nina's BMW rolled into the driveway. She stepped out in a cloud of expensive perfume, her hair untouched by the brisk November wind. Miles followed, disheveled and hungover, but wearing his usual lazy charm. Nina brushed a kiss near my cheek. "You look exhausted. Is work keeping you up too late?" I forced a calm response. "Business is doing well." I didn't bother mentioning the sleepless night I had spent finishing the hotel lobby design, the very project financing the meal they would soon consume. No one offered help as I rushed between kitchen and dining room. Instead, they lounged in my living room, sipping the wine I had selected, passing judgment on the artwork I had chosen. When we finally gathered around the table, covered in imported linens and heirloom china I had tracked down myself, my father cleared his throat, raising his glass. "To family," he said solemnly, "to those who always step up when it matters." A flicker of warmth rose in me, but it vanished as quickly as it came. His eyes slid past me without pause. Everyone else nodded gravely, as though they were the ones who had saved the family home during the pandemic. As though they had made the transfers that covered Nina's attorney fees or Miles's long overdue rent. "The turkey looks dry," my mother muttered loudly as I served her plate. Later, when dessert plates were carried away, Nina cornered me with a smile that always meant she was about to ask for something. "The boys need new hockey gear," she began, launching into her story of financial strain with the settlement still unresolved. Her words blurred in my ears. What surfaced instead was the memory of the $45,000 I had loaned my parents in the year 2020, a loan formalized by a lawyer, Adrian. That money had never been repaid. Never even acknowledged. My mind drifted to the lakeside cabin I had purchased outright, imagining it as a retreat where my family might finally see me differently. They had used it countless times, but not once had they thanked me. Now, in my empty kitchen, I opened my banking app. The familiar list of transfers appeared: $2,000 every month to my parents, $1,500 to Nina, $950 to Miles for a temporary arrangement that had stretched into 3 years. And in my head again came my father's judgment: "You've never given this family anything that matters." A tear slid down my cheek, sharp against my skin, yet it brought clarity. My finger hovered, then pressed cancel. One payment disappeared, then another, then another. Each cancellation loosened the pressure on my chest. The kitchen seemed to expand, as if the walls had drawn back. One of the caterers glanced at me as a sound slipped out of my throat, a mix between a gasp and a laugh. "If I've truly never given anything," I whispered, sliding the phone away. Then perhaps it's time I finally stop giving. By dawn, I was slipping a leather weekender into my trunk. The neighborhood still slept, curtains drawn, porch lights glowing over deserted driveways. My hands trembled as I checked my phone one last time, vision blurred with unshed tears. 27 missed calls. 43 unread messages. Each one from people who swore I had never given them anything, yet suddenly needed me desperately. The cabin near Portland, I muttered, turning the ignition. The dashboard clock glowed 5:17. I had not slept a moment since canceling those payments. Every time my eyes shut, my father's words replayed, unrelenting. All you do is take. I pulled away from the Georgian colonial I had poured my heart into renovating, the house with its symmetry and curated beauty that no one in my family had ever appreciated. My tires whispered against the wet road as Austin faded behind me. Texas Hill Country receded in the rearview mirror, still blanketed in darkness. My hand hovered over the phone. One tap. Airplane mode. It felt like severing a chain. Let them wonder, I murmured as I pressed it, the silence that followed as pure as the first breath taken above water after nearly drowning. By mid-morning, I had crossed into Oklahoma. A fine layer of snow dusted the roadside, altering the familiar into something strange. A perfect symbol, I thought, allowing the smallest of smiles. 3 days later, I stood on the deck of a cedar cabin hidden deep within the Oregon forest. The scent of pine and damp earth fills my lungs, the air rich with petrichor. Out here, no one knows where I've gone except Adrian, my lawyer, who swore to keep my secret. Mist drapes itself between the towering trees, hiding their peaks, resembling the fog that has finally begun to lift from my own mind. I spread my sketchbook open across the coarse wooden table. My pencil glides, guided by something deeper than thought. Shapes and lines emerge that are not dictated by client contracts or family expectations. It is raw creation, free, untethered. For the first time in years, I sleep through the night without interruption. Meanwhile, far away in Austin, my silenced phone rests on the counter of my vacant home, absorbing a storm of desperate messages. Nina's voice shrills through voicemail. Sloan, my car payment just bounced. Call me this instant. Her tone carries entitlement, as though my money had always belonged to her. Miles's voice follows, casual in style but trembling underneath. Hey, sis, something strange happened with the rent. The landlord is threatening eviction. We need to talk right away. Then my mother's fractured plea. Sloan, Elise, this isn't a joke. The mortgage company is demanding payment. Call us back immediately. Her voice cracks on the final word. The messages multiply, day after day, tumbling from demands into confusion, from anger into fear, the natural collapse of entitlement when it finally faces resistance. While their world unravels, I lose all sense of days in my woodland sanctuary. I hike until my legs burn, I sketch until my hand stiffens, and at night I sit by the fire, entranced by the shifting dance of flames. 3 weeks after disappearing, I wake to my final morning at the cabin. Through the wide window, I watch an eagle circling above the endless pines. I whisper to it, though the glass blocks my voice. I am ready. The cabin is already booked for many more weekends in the coming year, my escape hatch preserved. The drive south feels different this time. I do not see Texas as a burden I am leaving behind, but as a place I can choose on my own terms. My hands rest steady on the wheel. My shoulders loosen after years of tension. When I arrive home past midnight, the house greets me with scents of lemon polish and faint spice from the potpourri I had blended myself. I water neglected plants, trail my fingers across the spines of my carefully chosen books. By morning, sunlight filters through the east windows, turning the air golden. Coffee warms my hands as I finally switch off airplane mode. The phone convulses with notifications, hundreds of them. A tidal wave of digital outrage. Texts, voicemails, emails, the tantrum of a family denied. The most recent message is Nina's, her voice breaking. They repossessed my car today, right in front of the boys. Do you have any idea how humiliating that was? What kind of sister treats her family like this? I set the mug down gently and type one short reply to the family group chat. I thought you believed I never gave this family anything. Responses pour in instantly. Demands. Accusations. Thinly veiled guilt. Where have you been? How could you abandon us like this? We've been frantic with worry. Is this a breakdown? Not a single word of apology. I phone Adrian's office, schedule a meeting for the next day, then mute my phone once more. Sunlight spills across my design table, illuminating the sketches I carried back from Oregon, sketches untainted by duty or judgment. I let my fingertips follow the grooves where my pencil had pressed hardest. These creations belong solely to me, born in silence, drawn from freedom. My father's words still echo sometimes. All you do is take. But I have finally understood the truth beneath them, his terror that I might stop giving. With deliberate calm, I pick up my pencil and drag a bold line across the paper, the foundation of what comes next. The following morning, the landline in my office shrills for the 7th time. The cord swings as if urging me to answer, but I do not move. In the doorway, Claire, my assistant, adjusts the silver frames of her glasses. Her voice is measured, gentle. Your mother again. Do you want me to tell her you are tied up with a client meeting? I nod, turning my focus back to the hotel lobby sketches spread across the table. The Marquee project is the largest commission of my career, 60,000 square feet of possibility, a full redesign of the downtown property. Claire lingers a moment longer. And Sloane. Miles is in the lobby again. The pencil in my hand snaps. I place the fragments down carefully, exhaling in the controlled rhythm Adrian taught me. Please inform him I am unavailable. And tell him, if he arrives intoxicated again, security will escort him out. Claire nods, her eyes soft with a mixture of concern and admiration. 3 weeks have passed since I cut off their lifelines. 3 weeks of escalating chaos. 3 weeks of discovering the spine I never thought I had. Minutes later, the elevator dings below, and Miles's raised voice echoes upward. You can't avoid us forever. Mom needs her medication, do you even care? His anger reverberates through the open floor plan. My hands tremble slightly, but the familiar flood of guilt does not come. A low baritone answers, our security guard, and then the elevator doors close. Silence settles. My phone buzzes again, Nina's 3rd message of the morning. Mom's blood pressure is through the roof. I hope you are happy, watching your family suffer while you play the victim. I turn the device face down and return to my sketches. The irony doesn't escape me. While my family fractures, my professional life blooms. Just yesterday, the Marquee owners approved my first draft without a single revision, something that had never happened before. The office door opens without warning. Adrian strides in, his leather briefcase swinging at his side. He sets a folder on my desk. They're contesting the deed to the cabin, he says as he loosens his tie. They're claiming you purchased it under false pretenses, that it was meant as a family property, not yours alone. I release a laugh stripped of humor. False pretenses? I echo, my voice sharp with disbelief. I still have the emails where they specifically requested a lakeside property with at least 4 bedrooms. Adrian lowers himself into the chair across from my drafting table, his expression even but serious. They're also spreading rumors, he says. Word is, you're supposedly having some kind of breakdown. The word lands heavy on my tongue. Breakdown? Because I stopped paying their endless bills? Adrian leans back, studying me. Your cousin Nora called my office earlier. Apparently, your parents have been telling the extended family that you're unstable. She wanted me to know. A knot forms in my stomach. Nora and I had once been inseparable before time and distance pulled us apart. The thought of her believing their lies twists something inside me. What did she say? My voice comes out softer than I intend. For the first time in weeks, Adrian smiles. She told me, and I quote, tell Sloane it's about damn time she stopped carrying them. Something loosens in my chest. For once, someone sees the truth. Someone understands. Just then, my phone buzzes across the table. Another message from the family group chat, this time from my father. Your behavior is destroying this family. We've always supported your little design business. This is how you repay us? Little design business. The very work that kept their mortgage paid for 2 years. The work that covered Nina's divorce attorney. The work that has kept a roof over Miles's head. I slide the phone toward Adrian. Add it to the evidence file. He nods, slipping it into his briefcase. The 90-day notice was served yesterday. They have until the 15th of March to repay the loan. The 15th of March. 12 weeks until the reckoning. In my mind, I see the calendar pages turning, each day crossed off until I reclaim not only the money, but also my dignity. They'll escalate, I say, no doubt in my tone. Count on it. Adrian rises, smoothing his jacket. Have you considered staying elsewhere for a while? Your address is on public record. I nod, and together we map out a plan. 2 hours later, Claire reappears, her expression tense. Nina's downstairs with the boys, she says. The receptionist says they're tearing around the lobby, pulling fabric samples off the walls. A jolt of pain stabs through me. I miss their sticky hands and toothy smiles, but using children as pawns crosses a line I had not expected. Have security escort them out, I say firmly, though my stomach churns. Tell Nina she can schedule an appointment if she wishes to speak with me in a professional capacity. Claire nods and retreats. Adrian watches me with a thoughtful gaze. You're stronger than they expected, he says. The words sit uneasily. Strength was never what I wanted from this family. All I had ever asked for was reciprocity. Recognition. Acknowledgement. My computer pings with a new email. The subject line makes my pulse skip. Urgent. Mom in hospital. Your fault. I close the laptop without reading further. Another manipulation tactic. Last week it was Dad's heart palpitations. The week before, Miles's looming eviction. If it were truly a medical emergency, I murmur, half to Adrian, half to myself, they could sell the boat. The same boat they purchased after I funded their new roof. Adrian's phone rings. He glances at the screen, grimacing. Your father again. 4th time today. Block the number, I say calmly, returning to my sketches. Block all of them. After Adrian leaves, I stand at my office window, gazing over downtown Austin. Winter light scatters across glass towers, casting shifting shadows. For a moment, the entire city looks like a design, clean lines, deliberate spaces, every detail chosen with intent. My family has none of that. No clean lines. No defined boundaries. Only demands that expand endlessly to consume whatever I provide. Another vibration rattles the desk. This time it's from an unfamiliar number, my mother borrowing someone else's phone. Your father and I gave you everything. We sacrificed for your education, and this selfish betrayal is how you repay us. I slide the device into my desk drawer and close it with finality. The calendar on my wall glows with a red circle around the 15th of March, the foreclosure date. Not just the day their debt comes due, but the day respect, truth, and acknowledgement will be reclaimed. I return to my designs, hands steady, adjusting the curve of a wall to capture light from an unexpected angle. On auction day, I smooth the silk of my cream-colored blouse in the rearview mirror. No embellishments, no statement jewelry. My message will be in my actions, not my attire. The auction sign reflects against the windshield as I turn onto the familiar street where I was raised. Morning light stretches long across manicured lawns, while neighbors pretend to ignore what they are desperate to witness. My preparation had been precise: strong black coffee, 15 minutes of breathing exercises, Adrian's reassuring call confirming every legal safeguard in place. The spare brass key to my parents' house lies abandoned on my kitchen counter, a token of ties deliberately cut. Are you absolutely sure? Adrian had asked me. I have never been more certain of anything, I had replied, my voice stronger than it felt. Now, as I roll into the driveway, certainty wavers not from doubt, but from the sight awaiting me. They stand arrayed like soldiers defending a fortress, my entire family forming a human barricade before the auction sign. My father in the center, his squared shoulders carrying the same practiced intimidation he used on bankers and car dealers alike. My mother at his side, clutching a handkerchief to her lips, eyes swollen and accusatory. Nina, arms folded, designer sunglasses perched on her perfect hair. Miles, gaunt and restless, fists jammed deep into his pockets, the pockets I had lined for years. Across the street, Mrs. Beaumont waters her geraniums far too long, pretending focus while soaking in every detail. The Ellisons, mid-morning walkers, slow their pace to a crawl. I park, cut the engine, and breathe in the hush of the car's interior. It feels like the calm eye of a storm, one last quiet before stepping into the chaos they've staged. My father marches forward before I can even open the door fully. His voice booms, "What do you think you're doing?" I steady my breath and answer with resolve. Exactly what the certified letter explained I would do. I close the car door with a quiet click, but in the heavy silence of the street, the sound reverberates like a gunshot. My father lowers his voice to the private register he always reserved for family shaming. "Your mother hasn't slept in weeks. Is this truly what you want, to destroy the people who raised you?" A laugh breaks from me before I can swallow it. The sound is sharp and strange, and I see Nina flinch. Raised me? Or used me? My mother steps forward, her handkerchief pressed against eyes that hold no real tears. "We gave you everything, Sloan. A home. Schools. Opportunities. Mounting debt and expectations no one could ever meet," I answer evenly. "Speaking of, how is that $45,000 repayment coming along?" My father's expression shifts. Anger drains away, replaced by a practice charm as slick as oil. "Sweetheart, we have always supported your design business. Remember how proud we were when you landed that first contract?" "Yes," I reply, my voice like tempered steel. "The same contract you told Uncle Patrick was handed to me only because the client wanted to sleep with me. I remember that perfectly well." Nina steps forward, her tone pitched with forced reason. "Families sometimes say things they don't really mean. You're twisting things out of proportion." "Then you didn't mean it," I counter, scrolling through my phone. "When you told your divorce attorney I would cover your legal fees indefinitely?" I read the line aloud. "Sloane's good for it. She's always good for it." Miles speaks at last, his voice cracking. "We always believed in your dreams." "No," I say, standing taller, my spine straightening with each syllable. "You believed in my bank account. You believed I would never stop giving." At the end of the block, the auctioneer's car turns the corner, followed by 3 more vehicles I recognize from the inspection day. Prospective buyers. My father hisses, voice low and venomous. "You will regret this every day for the rest of your life." From my purse, I withdraw a sheet of paper, the transcript of his Thanksgiving voicemail. The breeze stirs it as I raise it before him. My voice is steady as I read. "All you do is take, Sloan. You've never given this family anything that matters." Each word slices like the edge of a blade. "I'm simply honoring your judgment." My mother's wails rise, theatrical and hollow, while Nina pulls her close with one arm and glares at me over her shoulder. "My children will never know their aunt after this. I'll see to it personally." The auctioneer approaches with clipboard in hand, nodding politely at the tableau of family discord. I turn toward him, my voice clear and unyielding. "You don't get to threaten me anymore. You didn't see me when I gave everything. You don't get to see me now that I am taking it back." Extending my hand, I greet him firmly. "Mr. Whitaker, I believe we are ready to begin." 3 months later, I stand inside an adobe-style house, my footsteps echoing across terracotta tiles. Morning light streams through bare windows, painting golden rectangles across the walls. The realtor lingers at the doorway, giving me space. "The Vegas are original," she says, pointing up at the exposed ceiling beams. "Hundreds of years old. The previous owners kept them intact." I run my hand across the textured wall. Santa Fe lies 700 miles from Austin, but the distance feels greater than geography. It feels like a rebirth. "The courtyard gets beautiful afternoon sun," the realtor continues. "Perfect for coffee or reading." I step outside into the enclosed patio. A wind chime rings gently in the breeze, and the Sangre de Cristo Mountains rise purple in the distance, silent witnesses to countless new beginnings. "I'll take it," I say without hesitation. The realtor blinks. "You don't want to see the other houses I scheduled?" I shake my head. This one is right. 2 hours later, I sit across from her at a notary's office, signing page after page for a house half the size of my Austin home. Each stroke of my pen feels like setting down a stone I've carried too long. When it is done, she places a single key in my hand. "Congratulations," she says warmly. "It's a beautiful home." "No," I answer softly, smiling. "It is becoming one." That evening, I unpack only what I truly need: one suitcase, my drafting table, and a single box of kitchen essentials. The rest stays in storage until I decide which parts of the past deserve a place in my future. By the wide window, I set up my drafting table, clipping down a fresh sheet of paper. As the sun dips behind the mountains, painting them in shades of rose and orange, I sketch, not for clients, not for approval, but for myself. Calm floods through me, something I had not felt in years. My phone buzzes. A message from Adrian. "Your parents moved into the West Side apartments. 2 bedrooms. Nina helped them." I place the phone aside without response. Another message follows. "Miles took a full-time job at Miller Construction, benefits included." A small smile curves my lips, not out of spite, but from the simple truth that reality has finally caught them. My family is learning lessons the hard way, but lessons nonetheless. The following week, Nora calls. I answer while unpacking books for my small office. "Mom told me everything," she says. "The auction. Santa Fe. All of it." I freeze, a design anthology balanced in my hands. And I'll be there next month." Her voice warms with homemade bread. "Unless you'd prefer wine." The laugh bursts from me before I can stop it, light and unguarded. Both. Both it is. Clients find me quickly, even before I update my website with my new address. Word travels in design circles, and soon my calendar fills again. These projects are different, selected for their creativity, not for the emergencies they would fund. One quiet evening, as I hang architectural prints on my bedroom wall, my phone chimes. The subject line stops me cold, from Nina. I sit on the edge of the bed, thumb hovering over the screen. For long minutes I breathe, letting the storm of emotions pass through me. At last, I open it. I get it now. "I'm sorry." 6 words. No explanations. No excuses. No requests. Just 6 words, late by months, but finally here. I read the message once, then again, and once more after that. Tears blur my sight as I set the phone carefully on my nightstand. Not because her apology mends the past, it cannot, but because it proves what I already knew: leaving was the right choice. I do not respond. Instead, I archive the email. Not from bitterness, but because those words belong to her journey, not mine. My healing has never depended on her recognition, though a small part of me hopes she finds her own. Weeks later, the decision about the cabin comes. I drive there for a weekend, unlocking the familiar door to a rush of memories, both warm and wounding. Family portraits still line the pine-paneled walls, smiling faces frozen in practiced poses, snapshots of an illusion we kept alive too long. One by one, I remove them, stacking the frames in a cardboard box. In their place, I hang quotes about courage, about transformation. By Sunday afternoon, the space breathes differently, its purpose reclaimed. On the drive back to Santa Fe, I make phone calls to women's business networks, offering the cabin as a retreat site for entrepreneurs rebuilding their lives. From family hideaway to Phoenix workshop, my first client says when she visits, her words settling like a blessing. The symmetry is undeniable. The cabin that once harbored my family's entitlement now nurtures women learning to rise again. Healing, I realize, often arrives not in what we preserve, but in what we choose to transform. 1 year later, I stand barefoot on my Santa Fe patio, watching the sunrise paint the Sangre de Cristo Mountains in gold and rose. A ceramic mug warms my hands, steady and certain. No phone buzzes. No anxious knot tightens my chest. "You look at peace," Adrian says from the doorway, leaning casually against adobe walls. Once only my lawyer, he has since become friend, confidant, something undefined but steady. His jeans are faded, his own coffee steaming in hand, his presence natural in my space. I answer simply. Inside, my home reflects my new life. Smaller than my Austin house, but every detail intentional. A hand-woven rug anchors the living room. Copper pendant lights cast gentle pools over my drafting table, where blueprints for the Women's Business Retreat Center await approval. The doorbell rings. That will be Claret, I say, moving across cool tile. She enters with a cake balanced carefully, her smile wide. My former assistant, now junior partner, followed me here, her loyalty and ambition both rewarded. Nora arrives behind her, arms full of wildflowers, cousin turned ally. No one knows how to celebrate birthdays quite like someone who once spent decades making everyone else's days perfect while neglecting her own, Nora declares, laying the blooms on the counter. Laughter spills from me, unrestrained, no longer a rarity. By evening, the patio glows beneath string lights and candles. 8 friends gather at my table, people who know my story, who never demand more than I offer, who cook, serve, and clear as equals. Claret lifts her glass before slicing the simple lemon cake. To the woman who taught me that generosity without limits isn't generosity at all, she says, her eyes meeting mine. To the woman who showed me that leaving isn't failure, but sometimes the bravest act of all. To Sloane, the others echo. Something swells in my chest, not pride, but acceptance, a softer, steadier thing. Later, when only Adrian remains, helping stack dishes, my phone lights with another notification. Nina's yearly message, right on cue. Adrian notices my hesitation. You don't have to open it, he reminds me. I know. I slip the phone into a drawer, leaving it unread. Not out of anger, the fury burned away months ago, but from certainty. Some doors remain closed not because of resentment, but because we have chosen better rooms to live in. The next morning, I drive north to the cabin retreat center. What once served as my family's playground now stands as a sanctuary for women reshaping lives fractured by circumstance or choice. At the entrance, a new sign greets visitors. Your worth is not measured by what you give away. On the porch waits Lila, a young designer with her portfolio hugged tight against her chest. I see the hunger in her eyes, that familiar ache for validation. My parents say interior design is nothing more than fancy shopping, she blurts as we sit together. They want me in law school instead. Show me your work first, I say gently. Then we'll talk about parents. Her sketches brim with potential. After we review them, I pour 2 glasses of iced tea. People often confuse love with usefulness, I tell her quietly. I spent 30 years believing approval could be earned through sacrifice. But real love sees you even when you stop providing. She hesitates. Did your family ever understand that? I smile, slow and certain. That was never the point. As the sun lowers behind the pines, I sit at the dock, my feet brushing the surface of the water. Where silence once meant suppression, it now carries peace. My phone stays inside the cabin, unanswered messages left to fade. I built my life on silence, I whisper to the rippling lake, not because I had nothing worth saying, but because, at last, what I said truly mattered.